So I decided I'm going to try to react to some of the comments, well, probably almost all the comments, honestly, from the video I put up a couple days ago about Serpent being the quote-unquote savior of MCoC, which is honestly kind of blatantly a more of a clickbaity title and thumbnail, because, I mean, calling him a savior is kind of nuts, but calling him, like, someone that's significantly impacted the future of game design for MCoC is something that I could alternatively use and totally find realistic, because I truly think he is that. So if you haven't seen the original video, you should probably go check out that, and you'll understand that, well, hopefully you'll understand that I'm not insane. You might still think I'm insane. I'm probably still insane. Regardless, we can go ahead and look through the comments, and here's my own comment I put at the very start of the comment thread, pinned it and stuff, and I only got one reply to it because most people just commented for themselves, but I guess I'll go ahead and go through this one to start. If Defender's ability is supposed to make this game challenging, what do you think nodes are for? Well, I mean, they also make the game challenging. It's not like you can only have one and not have the other. If every defender needs a specific set of counters, then what is the point of Arena as a game mode? I don't understand this correlation at all. Why are we bringing Arena into the setting? Arena is basically a pointless game mode at all, and I feel like most people understand that. Like, no one really plays that unless you're pushing for, like, the brand new champ and feel like wasting 3 days of your life. Or you just really like the quick game mode with no, impact on it or whatever. So I don't really understand how this really correlates to anything. How long have you been playing the game? Almost 5 years now. Let's say hypothetically Kabam is trying to ruin this game. What would you think would be the best way to do it? What damage can they possibly do to the game that Serpent hasn't done already? I don't think Serpent's really done that much damage. If he's done any damage, it's because people are quitting because they don't want to fight him, but also I don't think Kabam is concerned with how many people quit because they don't want to fight Serpent, because clearly that's not an issue when they keep printing out more champs that function similar to Serpent, where they're a hard defender that requires specific counters, and if you don't get them, then yeah, you just have to deal with it. So, I mean, considering the fact that they're continuing to do this, I don't think they're concerned about the people leaving because of Serpent, because clearly it's not that many. If you want an example of good defenders, look no further than Photon, Enchantress, and Bullseye. I'd argue that Bullseye is literally the same exact kind of concept as Serpent, where you need a specific counter or else you have to just suffer. So I don't know why you're bringing up Bullseye. Photon's similar. Enchantress is the least similar of the three, but there were no outrage against those champs. That's blatantly untrue. There's absolutely outrage for all three of them. Serpent's mere existence makes this game worse, and in no other champ has ever done. Again, I don't think it's that significantly different than Bullseye. And I don't think he's made the game worse that much. I mean, I can understand if you might think that. I don't think that. But I talked about that earlier, so if Kabam doesn't nerf Serpent or create a lot more counter to him, this game will surely die soon. Well, they are creating more counters to him, so I guess the game's not going to die soon. I mean, we had literally 3 very, very good Serpent counters in 4 months, and we're not done, because, like, every other Mystic that's coming out in the next year is probably going to be a counter to Serpent. That's literally how the game design and design space works. Like, if you actually watched my video, you would have heard me talk about. So, moving on. This was actually a very chill comment. I saw a lot of these ahead of time. This one's very chill. I agree with the 99%. The 1% is I don't want my Dex or Willpower to be turned off by defenders. Absolutely fair take. I disagree, but I think that's actually a valid point. Dex being turned off... Actually, I'm going to move on to Willpower first. Every time Willpower is turned off, it's perfectly justified. In Onslaught and Dust's case, it's literally because they wouldn't be good defenders if they didn't turn your Willpower off, because then you'd be healing the whole fight and they wouldn't be hard anymore. Like, think of other defenders where you have constant Willpower access and they just aren't really hard that much. Like, take Null, for example, which in a lot of modes where Despair is involved, then you're probably not going to have that willpower, but Null isn't really a defender because of the willpower that he's providing for you. Similarly with, back when Anti-Venom first came out, he was actually kind of annoying to fight sometimes, mainly because of regen, but that's kind of the only thing. He was like just a little bit of a stall because of his regen. He wasn't really hard to fight, but when you're stalling but also giving free healing, it's kind of not doing much, so... Maybe Anti-Venom's not the best example, but again, I think every time willpower is turned off, specifically in Onslaught and Dust's case, it's because they wouldn't be hard defenders if willpower was active. And in Photon's case, which is one that you probably were thinking of first, it's literally helping you that willpower is off. Because otherwise, with Despair and our Personal Petrify, you're getting your precious willpower mastery reversed. So, you're welcome for getting it turned off, because then you'd actually be taking damage instead of healing damage because of how Despair and her Personal Petrify work. So Dex, in the case of Dex, I don't have a big defense for Dex. Obviously when it like first came out, when like Heimdall turned it off, I think that's perfectly fair that Heimdall turns it off, because his whole defender mechanic was don't push him to SP2, and he lets you not push him to SP2, so like don't do that or else you're gonna die. It turns off Dex, and that's part of his defender threat back when Heimdall first came out. Obviously he's not a defender anymore. Photon wouldn't be a hard defender if she didn't turn off Dex. I stand by that. Like, there's literally no threat in Photon's kit if you can Dex your specials consistently. I'm trying to think of other champs off the top of my head that turn off Dex besides Serpent. For the specific example of Serpent, I don't have a big counter argument to that. If Serpent didn't turn off Dex, I wouldn't be mad. Serpent currently does turn off Dex, and I'm still not mad. I don't have a great opinion on that, but if that was changed, it wouldn't really change my mind on him at all. So yeah, I just don't have an opinion there. I think that's a valid thing to bring up, but it's not something that bothers me in either sense. Yup, anything that has to do with changing my masteries for one fight is just stupid. Completely disagree for the reasons I mentioned above. Me, when skill aspect of fighting Serpent is parrying the indexable special 2, then bait special 1s, just bluntly. I mean, you're getting willpower healing if you bait special 1s, so, I mean... I don't think that's entirely unjustified, because, yeah, you're going to eventually stack up block damage. In BGs, I don't think parrying a special 2 is that big of an impact. And let's be real, when we're talking about Serpent in BGs, you can also place him yourself. So, if you draft and place champs smartly, then you can use your Serpent round as like almost a throw if you don't feel confident in winning it because of something like that. I don't know. I might be rambling on at that point, but like, I get it. It's just I don't really get bothered by it that much. Okay. I understand the need for hard defenders and challenges. That's just in my opinion. Serpent is more of a you need the right counter, which is more luck based than skill based. That's true. However, let's not forget that Battlegrounds is blatantly in RNG mode, because the entire draft system is RNG. It's very skill based, it truly is, but it's also RNG based at its heart as well. So, and let's also not forget that it's not just Serpent in that example, it's also Bullseye, because again, if you can't get a Bullseye counter, which, if I'm being honest, I think I've not gotten a Bullseye counter more than I've not gotten a Serpent counter. Like, genuinely think that. But it just remember that this is an RNG game mode. It is also skill, but it is also RNG. It's a combination of both. That's how BGs works. Like, Korg can be done by virtually anyone as long as you played well. That's true. Obviously, there are champs who will perform better than others, but in general, as long as you have skill, you can take Korg. This is true. Serpent is more of you need the right champs, in which the context of BG draft is more RNG based than skill based. And yeah, that's how BGs is and always will be. It is not entirely skill, it is definitely some skill involved. However, it is an RNG game mode to an extent as well, and it will continue to be that. And then this reply is also expounding upon the whole Korg thing, which, yeah, I like skill-based defenders, but I also like RPG counter-based defenders a lot due to them making new champs more valuable, which I did mention. And yeah, okay. Generic hate comments. That's my friend and alliance mate Thin. I actually really like that reply. It's pretty funny. Because we're gonna get to less generic hate comments later. I knew you're that. I knew you're young. I didn't know you were that young. This was when I self-plugged that I am in high school. I turned 18 last month, and I'm graduating next month. So yeah, I am young. I started my channel at 15. And I swear everyone is surprised by that, which is, I guess, good for me. I don't know. There's a lava. This is like a lava take. Oh, wow, this is a very long comment. Well, they're gonna even get longer. What am I saying? That is how hot this take is. MCoC needs a challenge. That's why they made Ordeal Necro Epoch. Okay, so you named content, not defenders. MCoC, of course, needs defenders, but do not make them like it's impossible to fight them. Okay, well, it's not impossible to fight him. Is Serpent overtuned? The answer is yes. Okay. You can't base your answer after 4 months after they sold us the counters to him. They didn't sell counters. You can get them free to play quite easily. If you're trying to pay for them, you either have to drop thousands and thousands until you get the 7-star, or just settle with the 6-star, which no one's really doing. Yeah, the argument everyone got Isophene is trash. They gave us Isophene because we asked to tune down Serpent, and Kabam said no. That is absolutely not the case. Kabam was never going to listen to you about tuning down Serpent, whether you liked it or not, because that's not how the balance team works. They work on balance and not by community feedback, even though community feedback is definitely something that is considered. But if it's for the balance of the game, which clearly they thought Serpent was balanced, and you guys aren't game designers, neither am I, so I can't tell you that he's balanced or not. I can only give my opinions on it. The community was angry, and that free Isophene was their bone. That's absolutely not true. Is Serpent just for making money? You saying no has me lost for words. You can literally get the Serpent counters without paying money. Like, I don't really spend much on the game. I will not hide the fact that I do spend on the game sometimes, but it's very rarely and very infrequently. Like, when I spent on Cyber Weekend, nothing that I purchased helped me counter Serpent. I didn't get champs that helped me counter him. I didn't use the resources to rank champs that helped me counter him. All the investment and reason I'm able to fight against Serpent is literally just because I played the game and I have the things needed from the game. When I got Purgatory, which has been one of my most consistent Serpent counters, it was literally from friggin' Glorious Games, and I did kind of get lucky because she was the first one I got from the box out of like the two you could get from friggin' not spending, I guess. And you can get 3 from not spending. I just didn't have the units for it. Or more than that, I don't remember. Anyway, though, I guess I got lucky a bit there, but also Purgatory's not the most common Serpent counter anyway. They introduced champions, sold counters for him for some months, not selling, just introducing. When people were tired of facing him, Kabam knew that people would try the new champion, his counters on first release. Most Alliance people focus on BG, of course, bought them. I don't understand how you just immediately assume everyone acquiring a champ is from buying them. People are complaining because they see the pattern of Kabam make a difficult defender and sell the hard counters, not selling, introducing. Once again, you keep saying they have to make new champions. What have they been doing for the past 9 years? They have been making new champions, but because of Battlegrounds being introduced and to some extent Alliance War becoming a thing, and as the game continues to evolve, you can't keep making champions like you used to. Like, look at how many champs from 2022 and 2021 and all the years before there are just now completely irrelevant. Like, you have to keep making champs that are gonna be impactful for the current state of the game. If Serpent didn't exist, Isophene wouldn't be in the game. That's definitely not true. If Serpent didn't exist, she might have a different kind of kit, but She definitely would be in the game. They make an extremely annoying defender, sold for money. No, they introduced counters. Oh wait, I see what he's saying. They made an extremely annoying defender, sold for money. No, I acquired Serpent by natural means. I imagine most people did as well. Sold counters, and I acquired the counters by natural means. Gave a free counter idol, which they later sell for more money. Oh my gosh, did everything. Yeah, I'm just done, man. It's all just like, okay, this is entirely just a money-making process. Wow, game company needs to make money to keep game going. That's insane. And also, it's just like, dude, you're not getting all these counters just by spending. Like, I'm an exact example of that. Anyway, 3.5 out of 10 rage bait. I'm not going to talk about the comment, I'm just going to talk about the rage bait in general. I guess you could call this a rage bait kind of video, but a lot of my rage bait kind of videos are literally just things that I truly believe in, and they're just hot takes. So, I guess you got rage baited, I don't know. But it's not even like I'm just saying what I believe in. That's kind of all this is. As an owner of a 7-star rank 4 Serpent, I support this video. Yeah, you probably would. I'm all for hard content. Challenge is part of the fun, but there's a fine line between difficult and unfair. Kabam doesn't always seem to get that. Serpent is a perfect example. The main reason I and a lot of others dislike the champion isn't because he's tough. It's because of the indexable specials and the unavoidable block damage. Okay, yeah. So if those are your two reasons, then fair enough. Like, that's not why I might dislike Serpent. I mean, I don't dislike Serpent, but even if I did, I don't think those would be the personal reasons that I dislike him, but I actually do understand why that would mess with you. That ability was unnecessary. Even without it, Serpent would still be a tough defender with his crazy tankiness, power gain, and death immunity, but Kabam has crossed the line with that design choice. Again, no comment on that. Like, that is probably a point that I wouldn't say like destroys my case, but is like probably the strongest point against me, because yeah, I mean, I think they're fine, but also I don't have a great reason for explaining those to you. It's just, it doesn't personally bother me, because I, for the most part, enjoy Serpent, and I also don't even like place him on BG's defense that much, because I ranked him up very, very recently, and very, very recently is when I've stopped kind of playing Battlegrounds competitively. He's more manageable now, sure, but for a long time he felt straight up unfair. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say straight up unfair because of how new he was. And in his newness, there still were good counters, because Chavez, Tigra, they do a good job of him. Especially Tigra, when you weren't always fighting a rank 3 Serpent. Oftentimes you'd just be fighting the 6-star or a 7-star rank 2 due to how resource management went. I mean, there were good counters back then still. Tigra, Chavez, Wiccan, Kushala. Kushala especially. I'd still be playing champs like Shothra and Spiral. I enjoy their playstyles, they're versatile. And I mean, that's why I said, like, if you enjoy their playstyles, yeah, you're going to continue playing the champs. But if you actually don't like the champ, then there's no reason to play them. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't like Onslaught, but I have a reason to use him because of Bullseye existing. They do way more than just counter Serpent. Examples, please. Like, I would kind of like to know the examples of what they do, because I know they exist, but just something specific I would like to know. So, I mean, I don't disagree with you. They do more than just counter Serpent, but would you use them as much? Maybe you would. I don't know. Got both at rank 3 and almost max sig, not just one fun fight, because they're genuinely useful and fun to play. And again, the fun to play thing is just like not an argument, because everyone's going to play their favorite champs anyway. In that form without Serpent, so that's not a valid question. They were designed specifically to solve Serpent problems, so without Serpent, we don't know is Spiral, Shothra, and Co would be exactly what they are now, which is, yeah, probably true. Probably true. Maybe Shothra to the least extent of that, but Spiral and Isophene I do think might be a little bit different. Bro wants to be friends with Kabam very, very badly. Brother, there's no way you can look at the current war map tactics and placements and say, yes, Serpent saved MCoC. There's a couple things to say. I want to be friends with Kabam very, very badly. I don't think Kabam cares whatsoever what I'm saying in this video. And also, yeah, I'm again, saved MCoC is probably like a bit of a clickbait thing, but I do think he has definitely helped MCoC. Yeah, I do think he's definitely helped MCoC, even with the current war map tactics and placements, so deal with my opinion, I guess. I don't know. One thing is true, most players hate Serpent, but they have to take him to the highest possible rank. Irony. I'm not gonna say that's true for everyone, because I know high tier BG's players who literally won't rank Serpent and just ban him or deal with him because of sheer spite of the champ. Like, that's not 100% true. I think that is true for some people, but yeah. High school, I responded to that one. Meanwhile, Allison S destroys Bullseye and Serpent with any random attacker. I want to expound upon that, because she's doing that on a CCP server, which is where no nodes exist and no masteries exist, which makes Serpent a completely different beast. Like, actually insanely different beast when there's no nodes and no masteries in play. Like, you put, I mean, everyone knows this, you put any node on Serpent and it's just like, wow, this is a very, very different fight. And that's the case that I, considered when evaluating him. Everything I said is with the context of like nodes being involved in the champion's kit, but also there's in no way, shape, or form you're using any of those random attackers in a actual BGs or war setting. That's just not a thing you would do with random champs. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say the CCP map is a lie, but like oftentimes when you watch something off the CCP map, it does not translate to your account well at all. And no diss to Allison, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that she does there just isn't going to translate to your account. Found you very recently. I really like most of your content, and the self-depreciating humor tickles my fancy. What self-depreciating humor? I don't know what you're on about. But you're tad too pro Kabam at times, and this is a nutty nutburger. Simply stated, this character is on an island of its own in terms of abilities. It took them months to deliver counters, all relatively poor because the window for success is so small and restrictive. Disagree with that. And on top of it, they give him immortality alongside the broken AI and bugged content. Bringing broken AI and bugged content has absolutely no relevance here, because that's going to be for every champ you fight ever. So it doesn't translate to Serpent at all. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but as far as like the Tad pro Kabam thing, pro Kabam statement goes at times, I am pro Kabam. I'm pro Kabam doing what they have to do to make the game, good. Like, if they need to introduce a new defender, which I think they did, that is going to impact how game modes will function, and then create relevance to future attackers that might not have had relevance because of points that I made in the video, if you actually listen to it, then I am pro Kabam, if that's what that means. I'm literally just pro Kabam doing what they have to do to make the game actually have relevance in terms of attackers and defenders, which you might disagree with, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree with, but that's the perspective I'm looking at. Oh boy, this is a long one, so I might not read the whole thing. Hey, Grassgirl video, love the discussion. I find myself agreeing with a lot of the arguments you take. The game needs challenge, the game was in dire need of defenders, and the game needs design space. These new defenders coming to the game has, I think, been a good thing. Okay, fully agree with your first paragraph. However, I believe Serpent is a disproportionately strong and went unnecessarily too far. I'm just going to stop right here. For the record, I do think Serpent is the strongest defender in the entire game. So, if you were to say that as well, I 100% agree with you. If you were going to say that he's like disproportionately strong compared to like number 2 or number 3, that's something that I might have arguments against. But for the record, yeah, I do think he is the strongest defender in the entire game. Compared to other design space creating defensive threats that have released, the amount of champs that can't even get close to having a decent fight against Serpent is insane. Moving on. Against a lot of defenders, there are hard counters, and there are good champs that work perfectly well if played skillfully, and there are the champs that flat out won't see good results. Against Serpent, I think way too many champs fall into that last category, where even the skilled gameplay, your chances of success are slim to none. Which I think is fine, because like there needs to be RPG defenders in the game. If there isn't, then you just use the strongest champ for everything. Like I mentioned in the video, you'll use Hulkling, Titania, Juggernaut for literally every defender. If there weren't RPG defenders, it's literally just the strongest, who can kill the quickest, who has the most damage. You'd be using those attackers for all of the tough defenders if they weren't RPG defenders, like Serpent. And you still see people using Hulkling for Serpent. Maybe not to like extremely successful extent, but like people still do it. So I think that alone maybe not alone, but that also kind of supports my point. On top of that, because his kit, there are so many nodes that make him significantly worse to fight. Absolutely true. Most Battlegrounds metas add 1 or 2 RPG asks to defenders. Serpent is already enough to fight, even with most of his better counters. For fun, go back through some of the previous season's node sets. The majority of them interact with his kit in some gnarly way that makes particularly Serpent even more threatening than any of the other defenders. That's true. And my arguments to that are, 1, you have a ban button, and 2, if you have a Serpent of your own, you can also inflict that on your opponent. So, like, I get it. Like, I've heard the argument, why would you want both players to be miserable? And my counter to that is like, well, I mean, why does that even matter? Like, if you both have an equal opportunity to win the game because you both have Serpent, then cool. And RNG is going to get in that, but again, BG's is an RNG game mode. And also, you have a ban button if you don't have Serpent, or you just don't want to fight him in general. Like, you have so much choice as whether you can fight him or not when you have that ban button. In War, there's generally never going to be a node where it's like, okay, you can ban every single Serpent counter. Like, even the most oppressive ones, like 46 or 25, if you ban 5 Serpent counters, I still think there's going to be a 6th that exists and that you can have success with, if practiced well enough, for sure. Which, in War, practice is limited, but anyway. There's so much on this comment that I'm just going to move on. Oh, wait, he has a TLDR. Serpent, in my opinion, went way above and beyond the reach for his goals as a defender. If you think that, fair. If the balance team didn't think that, I guess he reached the goals that he was supposed to have as a defender. So, I mean, yeah, it's just, you're arguing against the balance team at that point, which, yeah, you can have your own opinion. It's just like the official opinion, and what the game team thinks is obviously how it's supposed to work. Kabam definitely be sponsoring this vid. No, they aren't. The so-called chase you're speaking about makes the game pay to win. There's no way to chase every meta champ as a free-to-play, and more impossible to rank them up. Absolutely not the case. I've talked about this earlier. The amount of champs you can get to counter Serpent that come free-to-play are actually fair, and there's plenty of them. You just need to actually do the content, which maybe you have, and you're just really unlucky or something, and you haven't gotten every counter. But I guarantee you have a Serpent counter, and not even a Serpent counter. You probably have like 2 or 3 that you just aren't willing to rank up. So I think I've seen others say the same things, that champs turn off masteries is why some people dislike those champs, because there's unavoidable damage that's bound to them. I assuming you just are agreeing to that, which I pointed out that I disagree with willpower especially. I don't have an opinion on Dex, because I think Photon turning off Dex is necessary for her to be a difficult defender. Serpent turning off Dex I don't think is necessary for him to be a difficult defender, so I would not argue against you there, for Serpent specifically. Yeah, but that means for 8 months he was overtuned. If you didn't have him as a 7-star, it was an auto loss in BGs. I mean, you could have him as a 6-star, and definitely it wouldn't still be an auto loss, which should never be the case. Kabam create a massive problem. Also, just ban him. Like, if you don't have him, ban him. It's literally not that hard. And then solve the solution. Create a massive problem, then solve the solution later. Not selling, introducing. I'm gonna say that until I die. After the entire community blew up about it, I realized the counter at the time or soon after, not months later. Well, firstly, characters take literally months and months to actually be printed out, so Isophene was going to be in the works literally before Serpent even released, or like around the time Serpent was going to be released. And if it wasn't like in that 9-month period, it would be like very shortly after, when Isophene was starting to get designed. So I don't think that them introducing Serpent counters has anything to do with community feedback. They were just going to do that anyway, because they knew that he was going to be a powerful defender. Like, they just knew that. They're gonna know when their 5 out of 5 defender is going to be a 5 out of 5 defender. How long is this one? Okay. Reason to chase a champion should never be, if I don't get it, I will lose all my games I previously won, but rather, I'm going to have fun. Reason to chase a champion should never be, if I don't get it, I will lose all my games I previously won, but rather, I'm going to have fun. I took Spiral without realizing it was great, the best, I think, Serpent counter. That astounds me that you didn't know that when Spiral came out. Then the motivation isn't akin to that of a car pushing you, but more to the speed of you walking yourself. And that's the big problem the game's been having. The specific releases of counters to defenders by introducing big bad problems as a monetization cycle. No, it's not. No matter how you put it. Even if the pre-release bundles do not exist as 7 stars, they incentivize spending for such Valiant Crystals, Eventual Titan, and 7-star shards. The new characters should have interesting kits to play with, and the introduction of new idols definitely supports the idea, but it is the fact that it is so closely tied to monetization that makes me mad. Like, I cannot keep talking about how this isn't relevant to monetization. Because firstly, a game team needs to make money. So, deal with it. Otherwise, you won't have the game. Secondly, you're not getting a Serpent counter unless you spend like thousands of dollars on the game, which barely anyone is actually doing. Barely anyone who really cares about pushing MBGs is actually doing. Like, I'm telling you, man, nothing that I spent has helped me get Serpent counters. It has helped me in other areas of the game and maybe with other defenders, but Serpent specifically, it really hasn't. And I don't even spend much at all. I really don't. Okay. Really long one. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Take this exact video idea and make it about Bullseye, and I can mostly agree. Okay, so at least you understand the concepts. I appreciate that. Serpent is just a bit too far. Holding Serpent up as an example of what is good for the game is like Crash thinking ignoring BGs is what brought growth to the game. He has data to support that, doesn't he? Forget whether those comparisons are true, but they just aren't good ideas in of themselves, let alone something that should be repeated. Moving on. 100% agree with everything here. The game needs defenders like this. Appreciate it. I'd rather just ban them than rank up Isophene or Spiral. That is entirely a choice that you are making, so that's fine if you want to do that. I played Shothra maybe once for Sentinel. Everyone isn't sweaty, but they try to force us to be because all of the rewards are in competitive game modes. I disagree with that. Like, BG's rewards suck. Isn't that the thing that everyone's been complaining about the past 6 months? That BG's rewards suck? What the heck? I thought literally the entire player base was complaining that the rewards in BG suck, and now you're gonna say that all of the best rewards are in competitive game modes. That's actually hilarious. And I don't think that's the case for Alliance War either. What the actual hell is that? That might be the most laughable thing I've read so far. Because all of the rewards are in competitive game modes is crazy. Oh man. Serpent is not bad anymore because there are a few decent strong counters like Spiral and Shothra. However, Enchantress is the problem right now. I don't think Enchantress is the problem whatsoever. Especially in BGs. I do not think Enchantress is a problem. In War, maybe. On certain nodes. Mainly just like 12. I think 12 is the only node in War now where it's like, oh wow, Enchantress is a problem here. Even on 14, that problem has been solved a long time ago, and it wasn't even because of new champs being introduced. 12 is like the only really oppressive thing, and that might get solved sooner or later. Not necessarily by a champion, but by like a playstyle choice or a counter that no one thought of yet. I don't think Enchantress is really a problem at all. I mean, I don't think Serpent is like a massive problem. He might be a little bit of a problem, but I don't think like he's a problem at all, but like if you're gonna say he's a little bit of a problem, sure. I mean, I'm not gonna really fight against you there. I don't think Enchantress is a problem whatsoever. Challenge and value in MCoC doesn't necessarily have to come from a champ. Yeah, fair, I guess. Except for value, it kind of does, because that's what you're trying to get is champs. And so that's your value. I don't know. Challenge can come from content itself, but that is hard to design. The fact that Serpent isn't in endgame content, like you pointed out, highlights this difference. I think what that's pointed out is just that you can make hard content, but also in the game modes that aren't going to be like hard content where like, oh, this is completely changing how the game mode works. BG's is always the same draft 7 champs, and you fight a defender with an attacker, and you have a specific meta to deal with in the process. BG's doesn't really change, and it's been like the same exact game mode literally since it released. So, I don't know. I'm gonna move on to another one. I love Serpent. There are many counters: Wiccan, Chavez, Purg, Sunspot in the VT meta, Guardian, believe it or not. Cool. Positive comment, I guess. That's nice. I don't personally think Wiccan's like the best Serpent counter in some modes than others, but he definitely does a decent job of it. People are okay with great attackers and not great defenders. That's how many players think. Hard agree with this. Like, genuinely hard agree with this. Like, if you look at the player base who has a problem with Hercules, is astronomically smaller than people who have a problem with Serpent. I have a massive problem with Hercules, and I'm in the minority there. I don't have a massive problem with Serpent, and I'm also in the minority there. So, that's my friend Carollo's. Enchantress is stupid. High school, you sound like at least 25. Heard that before. Okay. Great video, Grass. Overall, I agree, but I can't get on board with the premise that Serpent was overtuned, but now he isn't. If he is too much to counter, or can't even be countered without directly targeting new champs, then that's an overtune for me. I think there were enough counters when he first released that that's not necessarily the case. Even when he first came out, he might not have been overtuned because of the amount of counters that did exist. You just had to, rank them up, which a lot of them were 6 stars, and when Serpent came out, ranking a 6-star wasn't that difficult, and it isn't that difficult to this day. He's not killable in BGs without a direct counter, which is the RPG goal. It's similar to other defenders like Bullseye, Photon, maybe less so Photon. I mean, Photon's not comparable to Serpent in that aspect at all. I think Bullseye is, but anyway, yeah, Photon was a bad example, but Bullseye I think makes sense. Most metas make him worse. He's been dominating BG deck, building and drafting for the past year, and I'm honestly just tired of it. He is overtuned. Onslaught can be played around with an ideal counter. Bullseye can to an extent. Disagree with Bullseye, but I also talked to Adam directly about that because I am in contact with him. Enchantress can. All the other top tier defenders can. You may not win, but you have a chance if the opponent makes a mistake or has a slow fight on their side. Serpent simply cannot be beat without a direct targeted counter. And that's why I brought up earlier, like in those scenarios, you can round throw. That is totally an option that you can do. Also, BG's is an RNG game mode, so that's gonna happen at sometimes, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. Like, bluntly. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude there, it's just you literally have to deal with the RNG sometimes. Or ban him to remove the RNG. Maybe this is a factor in my BG placement, but there are a lot more players at Quantum or lower than there are higher. Overall, yes, we do need tough defenders, so I'm glad you talked this through with a raw reason tank. Appreciate it, man. Purgatory is a great counter. I never banned Serpent. Hard agree. Purgatory is a good counter to him. I want to rank all these champs now. Serpent saving the game by bringing all the players of MCoC together to share our hate with such a filthy defender. I fully understand your stance on this, though. Appreciate you, Frodo. Also, an alliance mates. As much as I hate fighting him, you make some great points. That's all I'm trying to do, is just provide knowledge and make points. Like, I don't like fighting Serpent either, but I like his existence. I mean, sometimes I like fighting Serpent, but more often than I don't like fighting Serpent. But I do like his existence, so. Nice try, but I'm still not playing Isophene. Okay, well, don't complain about Serpent counters then. Okay, I'm not gonna play my Serpent counter, but I'm going to complain about Serpent. Okay. I also don't think Shothra is a direct Serpent counter like Spiral. She's more like Kushala, someone who works in almost every matchup. and she is damn good even outside of her targeted matchups. It's just what her atrophy is really effective against Serpent. Agreed with you on a lot of viewpoints, except for the part that started around 1627. I think that was when I started talking about Isophene, I guess. I don't remember exactly what 1627 was. But like, don't complain about not having enough counters to Serpent if you're not going to rank them. Which I don't know if this person was doing, but I know a lot of people do that. I may not agree with or understand all your points, but I will say that I enjoy having Serpent in the game. Okay, appreciate that. Overtuned defender perhaps, but also underrated attacker. The fact that he turns off dexterity is my biggest personal problem. My personal biggest problem with him. Which, yeah, I've heard that a lot, and I do think that is valid, and I will not tell you that that shouldn't be there. Like, there are definitely abilities that I've heard people say Serpent shouldn't have this, or I'm like, yes, he should have that. Like, he definitely should have that. But the turning off dex is one that I will let you have as a reasonable point, because I don't have a great argument against it, and if Serpent didn't turn off dex, it wouldn't change my opinion on him at all. Overall, they got creative with him as counters in many of the champs that have come since, and that creativity I love. Hard agree. Like, genuinely hard agree with this. Honestly, I think the argument for Serpent being unfair was probably applicable around its release and maybe 6 months after, but as of right now I do agree that he's not much of a problem as he initially was. We've got a ton of counters added to the game, and a lot more people know how to work around what he does. Yes, he still catches people off guard time to time, but that's more due to the AI being completely ignored for any sort of positive change, and has opposed the actual defender in my opinion. Again, I don't think AI should be brought into any of this conversation, because it's the same for no matter what defender you fight, but fair enough. I agree, without these tough defenders, the game will become stale. Thank you, appreciate that. Grass, go home, you're drunk. I legally can't even drink yet. So, moving on. I love Serpent from day one, totally agree with you. Notice how, like, all the positive comments are, like, down low. That's funny. He's my favorite villain in the Marvel Universe, and so he's a great addition to the game. No debate there for me. That's cool that you like Serpent in the comics. I have not read his big series for itself yet, but I do really want to get my hands on it, because I've heard very good things. Totally agree, Grass. We definitely need new defenders to challenge players and skills. Seems like now all the top players have counters, so they're the top defenders like Serpent, Onslaught, and Bullseye. I like Serpent, he's fine as is. Agree with you, appreciate it. The only thing I will say here is that I do think that Serpent is less so challenging your skills and more so challenging like how you're going to build your deck around fighting him. Because yeah, there are definitely skill aspects in fighting Serpent, but let's be real, his big threat is his RPG. Like, you need to have a counter to him, more than like the skill intensive thing. So in this case, I think you're being a little bit too positive, like more positive than I am, but also valid points here. So Onslaught is a great defender, but unlike Serpent, he can be done with someone who doesn't directly counter him. That's the type of hard defenders that are healthy for the game. I totally think RPG defenders are also healthy for the game, so agree to disagree there. For a point, although, the part that scares me about all this crazy defenders like those is that one day they're going to be an EOP WOW with crazy nodes. And that might be the case one day, but also as the game continues to grow, you're going to get more and more counters to use on attack, and they're never going to design a boss like that where there aren't going to be multiple options. Like, look at the Onslaught that they did design for, Spring of Sorrow, I think. You definitely had plenty of counters to that. And I know Serpent's RPG and Onslaught isn't, but that's also probably why Serpent is not a EOP boss yet. I agree with all your points, but I'm afraid the game is shifting towards having certain champs to counter something rather than develop certain skills. For example, I have Spiral, and she makes Serpent nothing, just to fight normally. There's no skill ask in it. Just get your Spiral and you're good to go. Okay, so that's actually a fair point, where it's like, as they continue to introduce counters to the champ isn't going to be necessarily hard to fight anymore. That's an interesting point, and I think there's validity to that. However, that's kind of the case with most defenders now. Like, if you have a direct Korg counter, if we're going back to 2018, then he's not a challenge. If you have a direct Onslaught counter, he's not a challenge. Like, look at Jack, look at Bastion. Other techs have been introduced that counter Onslaught. I think that's just naturally something that's going to happen. I mean, even Photon, Like, look at Silver Sable countering her, which no one plays Sable except me, apparently, but people should because of how good she is at fighting Photon. And yeah, like, as the game continues to go on, that's just going to happen naturally. But good points. Who's the best, please have to choose. I'll respond to that later, not for the video. I agree, 45%, yes, we need a challenge, but at the end of the day, this is just a mobile game, which should not be harder than it currently is. We should be able to at least complete a fight with 70% health, if not use counter. I disagree there, because this entire thing is to be an RPG defender, and that's something that I agree is necessary for the game. We don't want Kabam to turn off masteries by defenders. Expounded on this earlier. Every time willpower is turned off, it should be. Every time dex is turned off, usually it makes sense for defenders. Serpent, I'm not going to argue against you for. Him specifically. I used to dislike Serpent for BGs, but since I pulled Shothra, it's been easy. Enchantress Fabric can kick rocks, which is actually kind of a hot take in itself. But moving on. I have not watched the video yet. Okay, so your comment's invalid. Moving on. Shothra way better than Spiral, not specifically for Serpent, but just in general. Coming from an Alliance War perspective, I disagree. Every other game mode, I do agree. But I think Spiral's better for Serpent. Every time, literally every time, I think Spiral's better for Serpent. But Shothra is better than Spiral champion-wise in every mode outside of War, I think, personally. Sauron gameplay. I'm just gonna heart that now. I wasn't gonna heart anything once. I wasn't gonna heart anything in the video. I'm hearting that. Okay, firstly, I want to say I largely agree with you. I think the Serpent's overall and good for the game. However, I think that you're underselling his impact on casual players. I don't think it's too much of an issue for BGs since you can ban him. But I think there are absolutely people who play or want to play Alliance War casually. It's not a game mode for only the tryhard endgame players. It's not, but also let's take into the fact that if you are playing casual Alliance War, it is mainly because you're focusing on either BGs as an alliance, or you're focusing on AQ as an alliance, or just you're not focusing on War in general. So, if you die a bunch to Serpent and War, who cares? Because you're playing it casually, right? So, I don't really agree, because it's like, if you die to Serpent and BGs, hell yeah, it matters. If you die to Serpent and War and you're playing casually, is that really a big deal? It's not a game mode. I mean, I read that. For those players, I think Serpent is a real issue, and has probably caused some to lose interest and stop playing the game. I think this was necessary for the game, but I disagree with you on that point. My point there was that BGs and War are inherently not casual game modes, and while yes, I agree that some people will play War casually, I think that in that sense, if you die to Serpent, then why does it matter? Because it's casual, right? Dying doesn't matter. I mean, you have free revives. You can literally infinitely revive there. I don't think it's so much the defenders for me, but it's the AI. Okay, so moving on. I would say the Serpent is a joy on offense, but on defense he's by far the worst addition to MCoC ever. The requirement of specific counters through monetization. Moving on. Already talked about that. Not monetization. Alliance Mate Coop. Yes, I'm not 30. He's so easy. That is even a hotter take than what I've said. And I don't agree with you there. Facts 101. Cool. I did respond to that one. Defenders like Korg are a better design. Before Mutant Renaissance, it requires skill to kill, but any champ could have success. And yeah, I'm not going to say it's better design, but I think it's good design still to have defenders like that. But I also think there is a time and a place for RPG defenders. Serpent was that time and place. Bullseye was that time and place. Photon was that time and place. So yeah. Ooh! Okay, I'm saving this one for last. Okay, I read this one earlier. It's funny. Moving on. If you need a challenge, play console or PC games. Don't ruin mobile games with this kind of stupidity. I mean, not all mobile games are meant to be casual, like, bluntly. That's not always the case of a mobile game. And I think since BGs and Alliance War have been introduced, that's never been the case, where it's 100% a casual game mode. You can play it casually. You don't have to play the non-casual game modes. But if you do play the non-casual game modes, then don't complain about there being challenge in them. I love Serpent more for offensive purposes than defense. He's fun to play, to use, so tanky, but one mistake on defense and you're cooked. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, not much to say against that. One mistake against Serpent and you are cooked. And you are cooked. That is part of the skill-intensive aspect. Okay, last one, and then I'm done. This is the best comment of the entire video. I have read it already, and it is absolutely hilarious. Okay. You can yap all you want, trying to justify Serpent's overtuned kit as a good one, but anyone with a single functioning brain cell can see that the defenders like Serpent were put in the game only to fuel Kabam's corporate greed. Honestly, I'm surprised that at the way you nonchalantly skip over all the negative things about Serpent. Must be nice to be so ignorant, and you being in high school doesn't mean you're exempt from, I think this is supposed to be foul criticism. Lost all respect for you after this video, clown emoji. Okay, let's break this down one point at a time, because yeah, I'm gonna absolutely continue to talk about this for a while. Okay, you can yap all you want trying to justify Serpent's overtuned kit. Okay, I literally admitted that some of the stuff might just be yap, and if you aren't willing to actually listen to what I'm saying, it probably will sound like yap to you, which clearly this person isn't. As a good one, but anyone with a single functioning brain cell can see that defenders like Serpent were put into the game only to fuel Kabam's corporate greed. No. No. You're flat out wrong. Like, I have Serpent counters, and I have Serpent not because of monetization. I got Serpent. I don't remember how I got Serpent, but you want to know how I awakened Serpent? Because I played the content of Epoch of Pain and used my generic awakening gem on him. Does that sound like using monetization for it to get him? I don't think it does. I got Serpent from a Titan Crystal. I don't remember exactly where that Titan Crystal came from. I'm gonna somehow get like fact checks, and it would be due to a spending event. Literally, that's just gonna somehow happen to me. I hate everything, but if that's what happened, then I do apologize, but genuinely, I mean, I still can't put up enough points as to why I think this is not due to monetization. So, yeah. I'm honestly surprised at the way you nonchalantly skip over all the negative things about Serpent. So I guess the whole 3 points in the video where I literally just go over things that the common things that players say about Serpent and then rebut them just didn't happen, and I guess you might have skipped over when I literally did talk about the negative things about Serpent. And also, the video is entirely called Here's Why Serpent Saved MCoC, so were you actually expecting me to say anything negative? Like, what the hell were you expecting me to say? So, okay. Must be nice to be so ignorant. Yeah, I guess I'm ignorant. I don't know. I guess I'm really ignorant, guys. And you being in high school doesn't mean that you're exempt from foul criticism. That is true. Like, just because I am being in high school literally doesn't change anything. That, like, I will give them that. Like, it does not mean I am exempt from foul criticism at all. And me addressing that I was in high school was not to try to keep me out of foul criticism at all. Like, if you actually listen to what I tried to say, I brought that up for a completely different point. Lost all respect for you after this video. Alright, so if you're gonna lose all respect for me just because I'm sharing my opinions, then okay. Like, that's the equivalent of, like, saying, wow, I have political differences than you, so therefore I have literally no respect for you at all. Like, just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean you can't respect them. Like, there's so many people in this world who I just bluntly disagree with, and I still have so much respect for them because they're actually, like, putting a lot of thought and they truly believe in what they're trying to say. Like, I have so much respect for people that I genuinely disagree with. And sometimes, like, the people I respect the most are the people I disagree with. So, it sucks to be you, I guess, if you can't respect people you just disagree with and immediately want to cancel and wish harm on someone who says something that you don't like or disagree with. So, yeah. This was a fun one, and I sent that everywhere, and people were like, oh my goodness, this guy's a friggin' moron. And I'm not afraid to say that because of how awful this comment is. Like, you have to be so friggin' stupid to actually say this and target me the way you did. And I am not even gonna try to hold back. Like, it's laughable. Actually laughable. Anyway, so that's the video, guys. More comments might come in, but as of the time of recording this, that's all of them. And yeah, it is a really long video on my parts, but I hope this was something that you guys actually enjoyed watching, because I thought it would be a little funny. Anyway, thanks for watching this one, and I promise I will not yap about Serpent for a while after this. So, bye guys.